See, a society cannot live long if it has a contempt for truth. A family cannot thrive if the family does not have truth as a value. Hi, welcome to our YouTube channel here at Mundelein Church of the Nazarene, and we are in the middle of a series called Back to the Basics, which is a fresh look at the Ten Commandments. This is episode 9, or the 9th commandment, which is do not give false witness, or very simply stated, do not lie. In this commandment, there are really two things that are in view. The first thing is, do not give false testimony in a legal proceeding. But the second part of this is, don't lie ever. And the reason why I divide the two is when in different parts of the Old Testament, they do talk about the dangers of lying in a legal proceeding. But also when they give the commandment, they could have restricted it by just using those words, and they didn't. So it's also open-ended. See, a society cannot live long if it has a contempt for truth. A family cannot thrive if the family does not have truth as a value. We live in a day and an age where truth, I think, is being diminished daily in front of us. Look at the media. The truth is being abandoned in favor of bias. Certain networks only present certain things. Politics also has abandoned truth generations ago. It now just becomes a quest for who's in control. Shape everything. We even have words for it now. It's not a lie. It's spin. It's shaping. It's not spin. It's not shaping. Deliberate falsehoods are being told every day in order to gain advantage. You see, without a value of truth, justice is impossible. That's why it's important to always bear proper testimony. Do not give false witness in a court proceeding. If you do, justice is impossible. The guilty cannot be held accountable. The innocent cannot be vindicated. Also, without truth, business is impossible. We would waste so much time, money, effort with the legalities of having to constantly negotiate things because we can never trust what was written down in the contract. We can never trust the words that were said with a handshake. And life becomes hard without the truth. See, we properly value kindness. We properly value gentleness. And those are very important in individual relationships. When we talk about society-wide, nothing's more important than the truth. And we need to remember that. In another place in the Old Testament, they even give the penalty for lying in a court proceeding. Are you ready? And I bet some of us will be ready to sign up for this. The penalty for lying was this, that the liar, the one who gave false testimony, would have to face the same penalty as the accused would have faced if his lie would have gone to convict him. So, if 20 years in prison would have been the result of his false testimony and he was found to lie, then the liar was given the 20 years. There's part of that sounds awfully attractive to me. And so, we depend in so many ways on the truth. And the most we depend on it is in this arena of justice. Because if we all start to get very skilled at lying, justice, fairness, goodness become impossible. But here we are, we're in the year 2020, and we've just come off the 20th century, all the 1900s, which was the most bloody century in human history. And I think if we've learned one lesson, the lesson we should have learned is this: evil can only thrive in places where truth is not a value. See, if I lie to you one-on-one, it might hurt your feelings, and it might give you a bad day or a bad week, and there's some bad things that can happen. But in order for some great societal evil to happen, truth has to become the first casualty. So let's look at some of the great historical wrongs that have been committed. We can go back a couple hundred years. Let's talk about slavery. And by the way, slavery is still very much in existence in many places on the planet. In order for slavery to thrive, people have to believe the lie that certain races or certain ethnicities are inherently inferior. They are less than someone else. Therefore, they are deserving, or it is fitting for them to serve me. That's a lie. Let's talk about Nazism from the last century, who sold the lie that certain races, let's talk about, in the ultimate one, Jews are both at the same time inferior, almost subhuman, and yet at the same time trying to dominate and take over the whole world. I know those fight against each other, but in that twisted world, both of those lies were told. If you believe that the Jews are not worthy of life, are less than human, and somehow trying to take over the world to your detriment, then you might act in a different way. Let's look at communism. Communism in still places thrives today, and this is really fresh today. Communism thrives by getting a group of people to believe a lie. That is why in the old Soviet Union, their daily newspaper was called Pravda, which is the Russian word for truth. They routinely printed lies. Truth was no longer a universal good, but truth was what the party said it was. And today, in parts of the world, we're all in part of a quarantine of a virus that's going around that another communist party abjectly lied about for a period of a couple months to the detriment of the rest of the world. See, in order to kill millions of people, and I mean millions of people, hundreds of millions of people, which was the result of the last century, you have to get decent people to believe a lie. See, there were slave owners who were decent people. There were Nazis who were decent people. I mean, they took care of their families, they tucked their kids in at night, they gave to charities, they helped others, they would help change a flat tire. They all just believed a great lie. And when you get millions of people believing a great lie, evil is the result. We have similar lies that are being told to us today, on a governmental scale, on a societal scale. We routinely sometimes lie, and we say we lie for a good reason. A lot of charities representing good causes routinely lie. In our recent history, a cancer charity, a breast cancer charity, was caught lying about the numbers. And when caught, they said, well, it was all in defense of a good cause. There have been many examples of this. You say, well, what wrong could happen if lying means other people give? Because if we routinely lie, then a society cannot adapt to what is the most pressing need. Because the great lie gets fed instead of what might be the most deserving need that's out there. And when we start the lie and those lies get told, it erodes the trust and foundation that is necessary for any group, any family, any nation, any community, any civilization to survive. There is something to be said for someone who says the truth all the time. Sometimes that might be unpleasant, but that person has a foundation of trust. That politician has a foundation of trust. That organization has a foundation of trust. That's why false witness is such a huge danger. It is more than just if I tell a white lie. It is the foundation of everything that we need to thrive as people. That's why bearing false witness is such a huge danger, and it's why God saw fit to make it one of His 10 Commandments. Hey, I appreciate you joining us. Like us and subscribe to us. Get into dialogue with us. We'll be happy to do that. But we're looking forward to seeing you back here again next week.